Crystal Tower Information Whiskey 21530 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, with departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nikki 53 on Oga Tower, Roger. Turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Archer 71143, flying flat, runway 280 left, push takeoff left and southbound group.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure, every flight.
Welcome, everybody, to the Flying Midwest podcast. My name is Andrew, commonly known around these parts as the Badger Pilot, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Maddie.
Hello.
Hello, Maddie. And Jim.
What's going on?
What's going on is we are finally recording again. It has been a long time since the three of us have gotten together and recorded an episode. So what have you guys been up to?
I don't know.
If you want to hear boring stuff, I can go first.
Oh, that sounds great. Maddie, go ahead.
That's all we do.
I can be really boring really fast.
Let's build this from there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think the most exciting thing in my life that's happened in the last month is my sister got a puppy. It's not related to aviation at all, but my sister got a puppy, and I need the world to know that. Her name is Penny, and she's adorable. That is all.
Her name is Penny or Pennies?
Penny, like a singular coin, penny.
A singular coin, okay.
Yeah.
Or like the lead female role in The Big Bang Theory.
Yes, that is when she calls
Penny.
her. That is
Penny.
Yes, that is
Penny.
what it sounds like. It's very funny. Yeah, I haven't done a lot. Been applying a lot of places. Haven't gotten any bites, but that's okay. Yeah, doing not a whole lot of flying. Taking some days off, which is good.
That's good.
Now I'm having a lot of days off, and that's not great. But you win some, you lose some. So
True story. Thus, the journeys of aviation.
Yep. I don't think I've done anything else exciting.
Badger, how about you? You
Well,
better
like Maddie,
talk about what I want you to talk about.
we'll get to that. So yeah, I have not been flying much. My plane has been an annual, I think, since last we all talked. It was about a 2-month annual, including an overhaul of the magnetos and a few other things that took a little bit of time. Got the plane back, and then my second flight back had some more maintenance stuff. So fingers crossed this week I will be back to flying. But such is aircraft ownership. For some reason thought I was going to... Everybody thinks they're going to be the one owner that has the unicorn plane with no squawks. And, it's a 55-year-old plane. There's going to be issues that come up. And the cool thing is I have learned a lot about some of the systems within my plane just by getting in there and seeing the maintenance done firsthand. And so that's been kind of a neat little thing. So... But yeah, I have not been flying. I've been instead trying to catch up on all of my YouTube content, which I think, Jim, is what you want to talk about. Yeah. So I started experimenting with YouTube Shorts, and I had one where I did a short field landing, got off on the first taxiway with a corporate pilot watching me and telling me he was watching by saying no pressure, and that's short.
Always helpful.
Yeah. So that short, I'm looking at it right now, is over 202,000 views.
202,000?
Holy cow.
202,000 views.
Wow.
And over 11,000 likes.
Holy cow, dude.
Good for you, man.
I have more thumbs down reactions to this video just by nature of people seeing it than I think I have a thumbs up the rest of my videos combined.
Well, how many thumbs down are we talking about here? Who do we got to hunt down?
It's 121 thumbs down. I think it's people see it and they're like, "Oh, I don't watch airplanes." Thumbs down so that they don't see more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then those people suck.
They do. Yeah, and you know what? I'm not going to worry about them anyways. So yeah, it's funny. I was talking to our friend Ed from the Flying Stampede about YouTube analytics and how this blew up, and I tried to make 2 more shorts, and them combined have like a fraction of it. The last one I put out is like 180 views. So I don't understand the algorithm. I'm just taking it as it comes and enjoying at least the success of that one. So
15 minutes of fame.
yeah, exactly.
Did you see a bump in subscribers or general viewership after that?
I did. Subscribers especially. The biggest bump I got 321 subscribers just off of that short.
Just off of that one short. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
you can
my
see...
subscriber count is just skyrocketed. But yeah, I try not to get too into the analytics because it gets really deep into like, oh, when does everybody watch your videos? And so you try and time, I'm going to release my video at 7:45 on Sunday morning, and it doesn't matter. So I try not to focus on that too much, and I'm just enjoying making the videos, and at least for now, enjoying a little bit of success. So that was
awesome. Good for you, man.
Thanks. Yeah. That was a very long-winded way to say I made one successful short.
Hey, everyone starts somewhere, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, how about you?
Well, speaking of content, and you got to start somewhere. I think this is in the space of because Jim doesn't have anything better to do with his time, or Jim doesn't have enough on his plate. I too have done some video work and launched a YouTube channel because again, I don't have anything better to do, and I have nothing else on my plate. No, I've been kicking this idea around for a couple years and kind of just keep pushing it on the back burner going, nope, I'm not going to do that. I don't have time. Nope, I'm not going to do that. Don't have time. And then finally we did that flight to, we had our fly-in, right? And I'm like, I'm going to record some of this stuff. And then as I researched the route, I realized that there's a historical significance of Lone Rock within the U.S. Airmail Service, the early days of commercial aviation, really. So I researched it some more, and I basically plotted out the points of the St. Paul to Lone Rock half of that route. It was a route from Chicago to Minneapolis. So I flew it. So, and I recorded it and I made a video and I threw it on a channel that I created.
That's awesome.
Out of nowhere. So
you have to make a bunch of shorts and see if you can get as many views as Badger.
Oh boy.
Well, let me tell you, I've got 160. No, that's it. 160 views.
Hey, it's more than zero.
It's more than zero. That video also got me 17 whole subscribers. So to the 17 of you who are probably my family and friends anyways, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it.
It's not me. I haven't come across it yet.
What the hell?
I'm sorry. Okay, fine. I'll do it right now.
You don't have to do it right now.
For those listeners that haven't seen it or even know about it yet, it is a really good video. I enjoyed watching it. I knew a little bit of the backstory just from talking to you at the fly-in, but seeing it all come together and...
Sorry.
She found it.
She found it. That's me.
No GPS, no modern...
Subscribed. Number 18, baby.
18.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. For those of you who are curious, I'd love to have more people watch it. Aero Exploration is the name of the channel. And just for funsies, I'm going to put Badger Pilot's channel first, and you should subscribe to that if you haven't, and then you can go subscribe to mine. So I don't have like a timeline on how often I'm going to be putting videos out. It's just going to be when I feel like it. Everyone says you're supposed to put out one video a week, but I'm not doing that.
It's not
Maddie,
possible.
are you raising your hand?
Yes, I am, because I don't want to interrupt, but also...
But I also want to interrupt.
I need to interrupt because you called yourself Aero Explorations with like an S at the end in your description. That's not your name. So
how do you know?
Because it says it right there.
Maybe I'm both.
Yeah, but...
I'll fix it right now, Maddie.
Okay, thanks.
Other than that, I spun an airplane and I did it on purpose.
Oh my goodness. How did that go?
Truth be told, the first 2 that the instructor did, I was terrified.
Fair.
Terrified. A big part of it, I wasn't in control. Like once I did it myself, like I had so much fun. But when I wasn't in control and I knew that he's going to let it develop further. And then when he was ready, he was going to bring us out of it. And he's talking to me just cool as a cucumber. Like we're sitting on the ground and I'm grabbing on to the supports of the aircraft going, this is how I die.
What were you flying?
I was convinced. Tabria.
All right.
Very cool.
And all I saw was the ground, and it was spinning.
Yeah, I actually did my spin training with none other than Lauren Jones. I'm not going to get into details, however, he thought it was very funny. He's just like, tell me when you're done. He put it in a spin. I made it, I think he said 4 rotations. I think it was 5, but whatever. I started tapping his arm. I'm like, I'm tapping out. And he's like laughing at me. I'm like, this is terrifying. Like, there's nothing like it. It's crazy.
I honestly don't know how many rotations we did.
Completed.
I don't know how many rotations we made. I'm still dizzy from the spins. Sorry.
Did you do them?
Don't worry about that. I'm still dizzy. It's been weeks. I'm still dizzy. No, it was a lot of fun though. Once I figured out that this plane's not going to crash, it wants to fly. Like, just do what you've been taught to do for all these years, and it's fine. But I remember that this is the funny part to me. Like, he demonstrated it once, and he goes, "Want to give it a shot, kid?" And I'm like, first of all, it's funny you just called me a kid, but okay. But then I said, not yet, I don't. How about you show me one more? So then he did another one. And then after that, like I have to do this. Then I did it, and it was totally fine.
Yeah, doing it yourself is much easier. Now, just wait till your student does it to you, like one of my students did yesterday.
No.
Super fun.
No, really.
Actually, my reaction...
Please don't do that.
I should have let him complete it. I didn't.
Okay.
We fell backwards. All I did was, it was reaction. I just pushed on the yoke and bloop, right out. I was like, dang it. That could have been a teaching moment, but I was just like, oh no, we're going back. But pushing the yoke solved it. We got out of it. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
My student was like, what was that? I'm like, you almost spun us. And I should have let you do it. I'm a bad instructor.
You're not a bad instructor. Did you or did you not recover from the spin?
Recovered. Well, I didn't recover.
There you go.
I recovered it. I didn't take controls. All I did was punch the yoke. The student was still flying.
Like punched it with your fist?
Yeah. With the heel of my hand. I don't know. It was just reaction.
Well, before we get into the news and events, I think that we should bring back something that we experienced at AirVenture. Well, more Badger experienced at AirVenture. And bring everyone another mini episode of Badgering Camp Scholler. Where Andrew goes into Camp Scholler and badgers random campers to talk to them about AirVenture.
Man, you guys are right on the strip, aren't you?
We are. We're watching. It's kind of like a parade.
Yeah, no kidding.
People are out riding around to be seen. There's no question about that.
Just to be seen?
For sure. Some people have gone by, what, like 3-4 times?
Yes. Well, they're probably looking for a campsite, truthfully. There's not much in there anymore.
No, it's definitely no.
I think it's they've already been here.
They're just
yeah, look, these people are just...
They're just cruising back and forth?
They're just going back and forth. All kinds of kids.
Fair enough. Well, I'm actually kind of one of them. My name's Andrew. Okay. I'm a co-host of a podcast called the Flying Midwest Podcast.
Cool.
And I'm actually one of those people roaming around trying to be seen. And if you have a few minutes, which it looks like maybe you do, I'm asking people about the camping experience at Camp Scholler, what it is that you enjoy about it and all that. You guys have a few minutes? Awesome.
Having a blast. We usually bring our plane in. We usually fly in.
Okay.
But we couldn't fly in. We had a problem with the plane.
Oh, no.
So we had to land at another airport, and we came up by car.
Okay.
So that's why we're at Scholler. We're usually on North 40.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, like guys like that.
Kids. Every age group.
Yeah, no kidding.
Moms, look here.
Look here.
Just bicycles and e-bikes.
Where do you see this?
Right, exactly.
and they don't stop it.
Right.
I'm not telling them to stop it, but you'd never get away with this at a whole bunch of other events.
No.
We were asking him, because we don't go to them. You go to a football game, a big one,
yeah,
and you do the cookout and all the rest of that and play the football. There's not all kinds of people with golf carts and scooters running around. You know,
yeah.
It's like, this is like Shangri-La to anybody who's into motorized stuff. Look at everybody's got a different light setup. Everybody's got a different.
golf
some people
carts.
are 8 people to a golf cart. We've had that. It's fun.
It's impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what are you guys' names and where are you from?
I'm Raymond Royals. I'm from Torrington, Connecticut.
Okay.
I'm Al Howard. I'm from New Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay, a couple of East Coasters. Awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to ask what happened to your plane.
We were on final to come in, and the whole dash panel and all the radios went out.
Oh, no.
Problem. So we couldn't hear what they were saying. We don't know if they were saying anything.
Sure.
So we had to just power up and fly away.
Okay. And then you guys just drove here in a rental car or got an Uber?
Actually,
Even better than that.
we were trying to get an Uber.
Okay.
We were trying to rent a car. We couldn't do it. We were down in Dodge County.
Okay. Yep, I know it.
And guy, an older gentleman said, I'll give you a ride up.
No kidding.
Way up here, yeah.
Wow.
And he said, I'll come and get you when you're ready to go back and get the plane.
How about that?
If your bike goes down, you bring a spare.
A guy on a bike dragging another bike.
2 guys.
Yeah, 2 of them. Two of them, 2 bikes each. They're the campsite bikes. You borrow them until you're done with them.
Yeah. Well, when we used to fly in, we used to go over to Goodwill and buy a bike for $30, $40.
Yeah.
Use it for the week. Now we have the little fold-up bikes back here.
Sure.
And they fold up and go inside the plane.
Right.
So we bring them now.
So have you guys camped in Camp Scholler in the past, or is it
Never.
always you're always in the?
Always on the regular field.
Okay.
Look behind you.
Oh yeah, all the
Remember I
lights.
said they're
Yeah.
there to be seen.
Yeah, they sure are.
My bike's cooler bike than your bike.
So I think I know the answer, but first impressions of Camp Scholler.
Oh, I think it's a great place. It's a little tough to sleep sometimes, but
It's fabulous.
It's a happy place. The kids,
It is there you go.
It's a happy
place.
Absolutely. How can you not be happy
You know
here?
what the nice thing to see about it? It's not just, it's
all age groups.
It's all, we go to a lot of air shows, but it's always old men. We
Sure.
go to Corvette meets, it's always old men. You come here, it's families. It really is families, and that's the best thing, because it'll go on.
More so, to be honest with you, in Camp Scholler than out on the line.
When you go out to the other.
This coming into here is such a cool experience because it is truly families.
Right, and we're 2 retired school teachers, so we like kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, excellent.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can sit here and just go like, okay, what's this? Oh, look. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you see what was that? That would have been an Amish lady.
Yes.
in her full dress.
On a bicycle, just zipping by.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Awesome.
Dying. This event is not dying. There's more people. You've come, right? There's more people
than last year.
Yeah.
And I think there's more people camping in this campground than ever before.
I can definitely attest to that. I got here earlier today than I did on Monday last year. I had a harder time finding a campsite today than I did last year. So it's definitely growing and moving in the right direction.
Park your tent right over there.
Yeah, there you go.
You have a tent? You have a camper? What do you got?
I got a tent. I went overkill this year. It's just me for the first half of the week. I have an 8-person tent. I can stand up in it. I have a cot so I'm off the ground. And I bought a generator this year so I can keep everything charged. So.
Good for you.
Well, we have to put everything in a plane, so there's not that much room. And
Sure.
You don't want to carry the weight. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we have these 2 tents, 2 bikes. By the time it's done, it's pretty full.
Perfect.
Finally, somebody else with music.
There you go.
That's what I say. How could you, if you were that age, how could you not have fun going out, hanging out with the boys and blowing up and down the road all night?
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
You.
Enjoy the rest of your week, and take care. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Well, that was pretty cool. Those guys were propped up literally right on the edge of Lindbergh, which is one of the streets in Camp Scholler. So, an interesting story for how they got here for sure, but that's actually the second time I've heard a story about somebody not making it in their plane and somebody else just voluntarily offering them a ride to and from where they need to be. So, You hear it all the time. It's all about the people here at AirVenture, and aviation is a tight-knit community, and we're seeing it here on Camp Scholler. I'm sorry to bother you guys. My name's Andrew. I'm one of the hosts of the Flying Midwest podcast, and I'm going around talking to people about camping in Camp Scholler. Sure. And I noticed the teepee. Yeah. Do you mind if I take a few minutes to answer some questions?
Sure, no problem.
Awesome, I appreciate it. So this is your teepee?
It is.
Awesome. What's your name and where you're from?
I'm John Stroop from Fairborn, Ohio.
From Fairborn, Ohio. Excellent. And how long have you been camping in Camp Scholler?
Oh, it's been 25 years since I've been back, but then I was for all through the late 80s and 90s we were here.
We camped from 85 through 95 and then took a big long break. And
sure.
This is the first time that we've camped
since 95.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been 30 years.
Excellent.
Close to 30 years, yeah.
Has it always been in the teepee?
No, I bought that probably 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it has the reason I bought it because you can cold weather camp. It's got a wood burning stove.
Oh, excellent.
It has a telescoping chimney that you can pop out the top, and then if you go hunting or something like that, you can in the fall, you can have heat in there, so that makes a big difference. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's fun.
Very cool. What is it about Camp Scholler that is so much better than like an Airbnb or getting a hotel or just driving every day?
Oh, I think being around like-minded people are all here for the same reason, so it's a lot different. I will say it's a lot different than of course everything changes with time, but since the air show has moved back into what used to be Camp Scholler,
sure,
that's what has moved everything around here. So I think they're going to have to probably do some work over on this side for showers and things on this side of the camp. But no, it's been fun.
Sure.
It's been good.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I appreciate you letting me take a few minutes to ask you a few questions.
All right.
I've got some stickers for you guys too.
All right, perfect.
So thank you. Very cool. And it's actually a little brisk tonight, so that cold weather camping will be probably coming in handy. I doubt they'll need to start a fire, but let's go see who else we can find.
Thank you for that crack reporting out of Camp Scholler, Badger. We really appreciate all of your efforts and you coming out of your set to go and bother people while they're eating dinner and whatnot at Camp Scholler.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think we have a few left still, so...
I think there's one left, I think.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Whole one.
All right, should we get into some news and events? It's been a bit, so I think we should cover some news and events.
All right, we'll start our news with a job opening, specifically to be an air traffic controller for the FAA. The fall 2024 application window is open beginning October 11th and runs through November 4th of 2024. If you are interested in becoming an air traffic controller, there are a few things you need to be able to check the boxes, so to speak. You need to be a U.S. citizen, registered for selective service, younger than 31 years old before the closing date of the application, have at least 1 year of general work experience or 4 years of education, and speak English clearly enough to be understood over communication equipment. Of course, relocation is also part of the job, as the training is in Oklahoma City, and you really don't know where you're going to end up afterwards. It doesn't say specifically how often the FAA is actually hiring, but anecdotally, I know just from hearing it from our friends over at Opposing Bases that this is not a very often occurrence. So if you are interested in becoming a part of this exciting job force and have a very rewarding career, you can go to faa.gov/B-ATC. So that's BE-ATC.
I'm going to plug myself because why not? I do have a solo episode on Fly the Transition that I just put out about that talks a little bit more in depth about the process and some research that I've done about what it takes to be ATC, as well as some resources for people who want to go through that process. So there, I've successfully plugged myself again. This is really all about me this episode.
Yeah. It's all about you.
I think they hired like 1,800 last year. And if I remember from Opposing Bases, is it like 3,400 that they have in the pipeline right now as far as various stages of training between the FAA Academy and just your initial training at your facility? It's like 3,400 people.
Wow. We're going to hop, skip, and jump over to Minnesota, where there was actually something kind of cool happened a few days ago.
I mean, kind of cool things for happened. A change, something cool happened there.
Right? Minnesota's such a boring state. So we have talked about sustainable aviation fuels and alternative fuels a lot on this podcast. But Delta actually did something on the 25th. There was a Delta Airlines flight that took off from MSP and landed in New York during New York's Climate Week, actually. And it ran exclusively on a fuel that is based on a plant called camelina, which is a sustainable cover crop that the University of Minnesota has been using. University of Minnesota and Ecolab partnered with the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Program. They're trying to use another plant called pennycress. These are continuous living cover crops, so to help protect soil and stuff. The unfortunate part about things like corn is corn just sucks all the life out of soil, and it's not very sustainable. It's really, really hard to grow, and it doesn't yield very much. So the fact that they're using plants that actually benefit the soil and stuff for this is actually really exciting. Cargill kind of went to different farmers in Minnesota and North Dakota and planted all this camelina, actually 2,000 acres in total of this winter camelina, and they harvested it this summer for this fuel. So I don't know anything about the fuel in depth, but you can read about it online if you're so curious. I think this is actually pretty cool. The fact that it's not using corn. So
I'm going to be honest with you. I had a really hard time not thinking about the camelina wine mixer for about half of that.
Bringing it to my neck of the woods, where Milwaukee radio station WTMJ is raising money to help preserve and maintain a replica of an F-4 Phantom, which was flown by fighter pilot Captain Lance Saijan. Captain Saijan was a Vietnam pilot who went down over Vietnam one night, but survived in the jungle for 46 days before being captured. Eventually, he was captured, weighing only 80 pounds, which was down from the original 220 pounds. Was sent to multiple Vietnamese jails where he was tortured, and he refused to give any information to them. Ultimately escaped, and then was crawling around the woods. It says he could only move about 20 feet a day because he was so dilapidated. Was recaptured about a week later, and then sent to what they called the Hanoi Hilton, which is a very infamous Vietnam prison.
Sure is.
They continued to torture him, wouldn't give him food, did all these terrible things to him, and he still wouldn't budge, and ultimately died in the Hanoi Hilton. A replica of his F-4 Phantom has been on display in front of Milwaukee's Mitchell International Airport for as long as I can remember. And so if you would like to help raise funds to help preserve this awesome replica for about as deserving as a person's memory as I can think of, you can go to WTMJ.com and look for the Preserving Lance Saijan Legacy link. Thank you to WTMJ for that, and like I said, very well-deserved honor.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Wow. Shifting over slightly to the south, I think.
The deep south of Illinois?
The deep south of Illinois. Carbondale, Illinois. So there is an airport called Southern Illinois Airport, which is Mike Delta Hotel, who has had only 2 airport managers in its 74-year history. The second of which has just announced his retirement. His name is Gary R. Schaefer, and he has been the airport manager for Southern Illinois Airport for the last 45 years. He's going to retire next March. So under his leadership, the airport went from kind of a small rinky-dink airport to something really, really incredible. It's actually the 4th busiest airport in the state. Gary has been able to attract more than $120 million in facility improvements. A lot of these are state grants and federal funds. So the campus has doubled in size. It's now 1,200 acres and has over 30 buildings, which is triple what it had when he started. So Gary is a pilot, and he has an extensive background actually in aviation education. He actually taught undergrad and graduate level aviation courses at Southern Illinois University for over 25 years.
Well, congratulations to him on a well-deserved retirement.
100%.
Little trivia. Obviously, O'Hare and Midway are number 1 and 2. if Southern Illinois is number 4, and he guesses at what number 3 is.
Oh,
maybe instead of a sectional showdown, we should do that.
You
know what? Let's do it.
3 airports in Illinois, and those were all 3 of them.
Those were all 3. Okay, well, my guess will be Chicago Executive.
Oh, that's a good guess.
Ooh, it is.
I'm going to put that out there. Don't tell me what it is. We're going to put it on our Facebook so people can guess.
I was going to guess something like DePage, just because I know there's a ton of GA traffic there.
Okay.
But there's so many airports there.
There are. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even have a guess.
Well, let's see what our listeners come up with then. All right, is that all we have for news?
Yes. So, Jim, care to enlighten us on today's episode of the Flying Midwest podcast?
Sure would. We're going to be joined by some folks from Spot. They are a company that has satellite-based communication devices that can be used in all kinds of different applications for rescue, communication, updating people on where you're at in your flying journey where you don't have cell phone service. So sat down with these guys at AirVenture to talk about their product and how it can benefit folks in aviation. Without further ado, let's join the guys from Spot. All right, we are back for another special AirVenture episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. We've got David joining us this afternoon from Spot. They've got some satellite communication devices that we're going to talk about this afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what we call our Fast 5 questions. It's a series of warm-up questions just to kind of break the ice and get the conversation going. So I'm just going to pull those up in a second here, and I'm going to read them to you. So you don't have to be a pilot to answer these questions either, so that it's perfect. They're mostly AirVenture related. Question number 1, favorite plane that you've seen while at AirVenture? Doesn't have to be this year either, if you've been here before.
I mean, that's a loaded question because it kind of rotates every year I come here, but currently I'm going to have to go with the A-10 Warthog.
I have to agree with you. That's one of my favorite planes too. Mm-hmm. The big gun on that thing, it's a cool plane.
Exactly.
In your experiences here so far, best kept secret of AirVenture?
Best kept secret of AirVenture. Man, that's tough as well. I mean, there's a couple of new things here this year that I think maybe not a lot of visitors have discovered yet, and that's the emergence of local favorite Pete's Garage Bar with their own food and beer garden station on the grounds now.
Where's that at?
Closer over to the other vendor villages.
Okay.
On the way out there. So that's new this year, and I think a lot of people don't know about it. And I've always just been a big fan of their food.
Have you had a significant weather experience at AirVenture?
I would say, well, I mean, define significant. I mean, are we talking crazy weather?
So the question would be, worst weather experience that you've had at AirVenture?
A couple of years ago, I think there was a pretty strong system that came through. It didn't affect us as we're in one of the hangars, but almost like clockwork every year, there's a big windstorm that comes through, knocks over a couple of planes. People kind of run for cover, and typically run for cover in the airplane hangars where we are, so it only increases business to some degree.
I guess there's that. I didn't think about that for you guys. You may have answered this with the last question, but do you have a favorite food or beverage on the grounds?
I mean, this year it's going to be Pete's, but I really don't have a typical go-to.
Okay.
As an exhibitor, I'm kind of confined to the booth space, so favorite this year is peanut butter and jelly in a Ziploc bag.
Is there a certain vendor that sells that, or?
I mean, I could make more for tomorrow and start selling them.
Oh, that's funny. The last question we have is, if you could meet anyone in aviation, dead or alive, who would that be?
Ooh. Man. Anyone dead or alive in aviation? I mean, it's going to sound too simple, but why not the Wright brothers?
That's not simple at all.
Just go back to the beginning. You know, pick their brain for this crazy idea called an airplane.
Yeah. So you can come up with it first and then...
Oh, yeah. Back to the Future style.
Yeah, that's a great
idea.
For sure.
Yeah, take all the credit, all the money.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for playing along with the Fast 5 questions. We're going to jump into the interview now.
Yeah.
So, David, we're recording here live from the Spot booth in Hangar A, and if somebody was to walk up to you and ask, what is Spot, what's kind of the sales pitch that you give, and then can you give us a little history on the company as well?
Sure. Yeah, the long and short of it is they are satellite text messages all through a couple of our different devices. We've been around since 2007. We're actually the first to market with this type of technology to provide that extra point of communication in areas where cell phone reception is not going to work. It provides that extra level of peace of mind to friends and family back home. But ultimately, they are rescue devices. They are equipped with an SOS button. So in the event of a life-threatening emergency, you activate that. Search and rescue teams are coming to your location anywhere around the world. They're also equipped with a tracking mode. They'll drop that breadcrumb trail so friends and family can watch you on live maps back at home. That's what we do.
And you had mentioned you can activate SOS mode. Is it a button that you push? Is it like an ELT where it senses an impact? Is it both of them?
It is a physical button to push.
Okay.
Yes. So it's a one-button push that is a live tracking button that consistently sends your location via GPS to the 24/7 manned search and rescue dispatch center so they can efficiently and effectively send out the teams that they need to extract you.
Okay, so when I make my standard hard landing, it won't activate accidentally.
It will not.
Your
no.
standard hard landing. Could you tell us a bit about the history of the company?
Sure. As I mentioned, we started back in 2007. It really started with just the one device, the original Spot device, and that was on market for some years before we went through some new generational changes into the Spot 2, the Gen 3, and now the Gen 4, all as part of our signature one-way messenger platform. And through those years, too, we introduced some other devices. The Spot Trace is a very popular one for us as purely a tracker. For putting on high-value assets like vehicles in case they get stolen. Very popular within the marine and power sport industries.
Okay.
And then the Spot X, which is our two-way messenger, certainly the most feature-rich because now you can text out but also receive responses from other people's cell phones.
And that wasn't the case before. It was just one way before, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So without getting too much into proprietary information, how does it actually work? Is it ground-based, satellite-based?
It's a little bit of both, I suppose. So from a Spot user's endpoint, as they transmit a message, it goes straight to satellite. And then from satellite, that SMS text comes down to a ground station. And then that ground station is really what relays it to the receiving party's cellular network or carrier for it to be sent to that individual's phone. That's basically the end-to-end of it.
And then the actual connecting to the phone, is that a Wi-Fi signal, Bluetooth to the Spot device? How does that work?
Between the Spot and the Spot user's phone?
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, in the Spot X platform, that is a Bluetooth-capable device. And so you can control the message capabilities and tracking capabilities of the device via Bluetooth on the cell phone via a dedicated app.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So the question I have about the one-way communication they have in most of the devices, except for the newest, the user is able to send messages out. Are these like pre-scripted messages within the device? Is it an app on your phone, or how does that work?
Yeah, they are pre-scripted in a sense that you designate.
Okay.
So on your Spot account online, you can customize what those messages say, as well as a list of people to receive each one.
Okay.
So you save that in your profile settings prior to a trip, and then when you go off on your trip, you hit the button, and off that message goes to potentially a list of people.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
for easy one-push check-ins, let them know you're safe at the end of the day, those types of scenarios.
And then you mentioned, too, the breadcrumb capabilities of, like, for family and friends to be able to track what you're doing. How does that work? Is it, like, a website-based thing, or would they get alerts on their phone? Like, how does that work? Like, the receiver, I guess.
Yeah, for the receiving end, in regards to tracking mode, as a Spot user has tracking mode active, it is dropping the breadcrumbs and populating a map on the back end, and it is web-based.
Okay.
So those back at home that want to follow said map, they would either log into the account, or we do have a way of creating a public URL or web page
Sure.
dedicated to that individual's tracks. So they could pull it up whenever they like if they have that URL.
Okay.
And if you were to, say, go down and activate the SOS feature, an emergency response was activated, do they get those breadcrumbs too, so they know not only just where it was activated, but your last direction to start looking?
Yeah, excellent question. It is a live SOS tracking.
Okay.
As Lord knows you could potentially go down in water and you could be drifting. So SOS is continuously sending and updating the search and rescue dispatch center and actively deployed teams. So they will have your live track. Yeah.
We're talking about the search and rescue capabilities of it, and how that, as rescue workers, how they can be aided by information from these devices.
Yeah.
So what kind of successes have you had with these types of devices with search and rescue capabilities?
Like rescue stories?
Yep.
I could share one that has always been a favorite, and it actually originated out of a testimonial from a customer here at EAA about 2 years ago, I believe. And a gentleman, longtime spot user, pilot, his seaplane went down somewhere in the Atlantic, I believe, and he was sinking very fast. So he activated SOS. He was quickly picked up by a freighter or some other vessel in the area, but where it got real fun was he was then transferred to a Navy destroyer that was in the area to take him home. But that Navy destroyer was also coincidentally in the middle of filming Top Gun 2. So he didn't see any stars, but all the film crew was there. And
Sure.
they were, they provided him with the explanation, like, why was there so many film crew people there doing action shots and such. So, he not only did he survive, thankfully, but he got a cool story out of it as well.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So, statistics-wise, do you have an estimate on how many saves that you guys have had with these devices?
Absolutely.
And by that, I wouldn't just necessarily, maybe you do have just aviation, but I know that these can be used for other applications as well, like hunting, fishing, hiking, things like that.
Limitless, really. But yeah, I mean, the number really is, since 2007 and the beginning of Spot, we have successfully rescued over 10,000 people.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I assume by rescue, it's anything ranging from they're down, they're okay, to potentially life-threatening injuries, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is a very wide range of those SOS events and style and nature of rescue, whether it be aviation-related, marine. A very large portion of it is auto-related. But yeah, in the hunting, sector, general camping, backpacking, it's used in all sorts of ways. And not only for just the spot user, there are plenty of scenarios in which a spot user happens to come across a different injured person.
Okay.
And they initiate SOS on their behalf. So it's not only great for them, but it's good for general public.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that.
Yep.
What kind of coverage do you have? Is it all of the U.S., worldwide?
Yeah, it's virtually global.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
And obviously that's important because, even here, we've had spotty cell phone coverage some parts of the week, and some people fly into more remote places, and you may not have that coverage. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Are there any other capabilities these devices could have that, the general public might not be aware of that could be beneficial?
The first thing that comes to mind is really, it might be answering a separate question, but it reminds me of it, and it's really going to be a differentiator between us and a competitor on the market.
Okay.
And that is the fact that at least our SpotX, our two-way messenger, is provided its own dedicated 10-digit mobile phone number that never changes.
Okay.
Our competitors don't do that. So ours is more of a two-way true communicator versus some of the competitor devices have to establish contact first from their end.
Okay.
It's really the best way I can answer that question.
Are there any myths out there about either Spot specifically or these GPS rescue device trackers in general that you'd like to dispel?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily use the word myth, but misconception.
Okay.
And that is in referring to satellite device communications. So, these days we are all very comfortable with the world of smartphones and the speed of cellular network. And so we typically expect text messages to be almost instant.
Okay.
Now, with satellite devices, should expect that it could take 1 to 2 minutes for that up and down, and that you do typically need a clear view of sky to successfully transmit, send, and receive. So that's really my approach there.
Okay. Yeah. When you say clear view of sky, let's say we're talking marine now, and a ship sinks and the device is on the ship.
Yep.
Can a satellite still see it through a certain depth of water?
Potentially. It would have to be very shallow.
Okay.
So if we're talking about deep submersion, then no. So, because at the end of the day, while they are water resistant, it's not rated for like heavy depths, because it is a piece of electronics. So, clear view of sky is ideal. It's not the deal breaker for it. It can be obstructed by some light materials, like some light tree foliage, for instance. A lot of hikers and campers, they're out in the woods. Still going to work out there. It just depends on the density. Same thing with being in something like a vehicle or a light aircraft. The signal will transmit fine through that. But if I'm under a steel hull, I'm in a cave, something, or a hangar like what we're sitting in right now,
okay,
then it's not going to work, most likely. So
okay,
yep.
So you mentioned something a minute ago about like the phone number portion of it, but it got me thinking about another concept. So I don't want to make an assumption, but like, is this something where it's a one-time cost, or are we talking, is this a subscription service then for the user, or how does that work?
Right, it is subscription based.
Okay.
Much like anything else in communication. And it can be a monthly cost, it can be an annual cost. It's really up to the customer. We have the option for having annual plans where the device is active all year long.
Okay.
Or we have what we call flex plans, which caters to our seasonal users. You pay per 30-day period that you need it active for that single hiking trip or single hunting season or flight across the country to visit Oshkosh. Both options are available.
Okay.
Probably one of the most important questions. How can our listeners find out more about Spot?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, we can easily be found at our website, findmespot.com. We also have a number of key regional retailers where our products are available for purchase, those being REI, Sportsman's Warehouse, Bass Pro, Cabela's, West Marine, and a number of independent outdoor retailers across the country. It's the best way to find us, and there's a lot of good information on the website too, especially if you want to read up on some really good rescue stories.
Awesome. Is there anything that you guys want to add that we haven't asked or we haven't covered?
I mean, theme of the week, I feel like I use this phrase in almost every interaction, is it's better to have it and not need it versus the extreme other end.
Sure.
Just when you think you're invincible, you're not.
So every show we always ask, and typically it's pilots or aviation enthusiasts, but if you have an unpopular aviation opinion, but we can certainly expand this out to an unpopular navigation opinion, pet peeve, hot take, whatever you got.
Okay. Wow, that's a tough one.
We ask the hard-hitting questions on this podcast.
Just an unpopular opinion on just aviation in general.
Aviation, we'll expand it to navigation or tracking devices, rescue in general. Something that's really been bothering you that you just got to get off your chest.
Man. I mean, the fact that it's taking me this long to think of something suggests that I don't have one. So, we thoroughly enjoy coming to this show every year because it's like my annual overdose of awesome aviation stuff. I mean, we go to Sun and Fun as well, but it doesn't quite match up to EAA, volume. So I hate to say I don't have an answer for that.
I don't know. I think
tough.
Oshkosh over Sun and Fun might ruffle a few feathers down south, so we'll take it.
Well, they ain't here, are they? No, they aren't.
Well, they might be.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I love them both. I go to both. I love them both. So.
Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time out of you guys' busy schedule working at your booth here at the event. So, again, thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys, and thank you for stopping by and having me. It was awesome.
Thanks to the guys over at Spot for taking some time out of their busy AirVenture to chat with us all about their product and how it can benefit you. If you're looking where you can find Spot, we'll throw a link in their show notes, but the website is www.findmespot.com. All right, so for our next episode, Badger, you want to enlighten us on who will be joining us?
Yeah, we'll be interviewing the folks from Delta Hawk, who I have been trying to get in touch with for a while, pretty much since AirVenture 2023.
Correct.
When I introduced myself as the Wisconsin affiliate of the Flying Midwest podcast. But this interview was definitely worth the wait. We get to learn about how Delta Hawk is bringing old engine technology into the future with basically being able to use jet fuel, for putting it in layman's terms, basically, instead of avgas in a piston-powered engine.
Piston, maybe?
Yeah, in a piston-powered engine. And we learned about all the great benefits that brings with it. So make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on your favorite podcast player. Holy cow.
Favorite podcast pad player?
Yeah.
Another interview I'm not part of. Just kidding.
You were there with us in spirit.
I was also, I think, in my tent sleeping. Oh, no. Was I gone by that point?
No, you were with your dad.
I was
in Warburg.
You were handing out interviews, I think. Or handing out resumes, I think.
Probably.
Yeah. I think you were.
The resumes
That's
that
important.
I drowned.
Yeah.
It'll be worth the wait. Those guys were fun. You're going to like that interview.
Oh, good.
It's another episode you can actually listen to. Hey, speaking of episodes, moving into 2025, we're going to bring back something that we started at the very, very beginning of this podcast and then moved away from. And that was some solo episodes where we don't have any interviews. It's just it's just us. Oh, God. It's
contagious.
Us talking. It is. It's just us talking about various aviation topics. So we're looking for you, our audience, to tell us what you'd like to hear about as we start some of those solo episodes next year. I know that one of the things on the docket, we're going to take it back to our roots, and we're going to cover winter flying, probably as a little teaser. Still in, probably December we'll do that. And then we'll have some solo episodes after that. So let us know what you want to hear.
So if you're cool, you should follow us on Facebook and or Instagram. If you're really cool, you should do all those things and also join us in Discord.
Lots of fun conversations happen there, mostly led by the Badger pilot. So you know their quality. Actually, it's like the Wisconsin takeover. So I'm going to allow it to happen because there's some fun conversation that I see. I don't have a ton of time to post in there, but it's fun to see everyone else being able to engage. So the more the merrier. Get in there.
And if you don't want it to be a Wisconsin takeover, we do have a border battle thread going on in there, and you can come and defend your state's honor.
True. To get that access, email us at flyingmidwestpodcast@gmail.com, and we will send you a link.
And of course, don't forget to leave us a nice review and a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast players. And until next time.
I was going to say, if you leave a review, we'll even read it. Yeah, our last review's from like June, so we'd be happy to read your review if you are willing to share it.
And if it's really mean, I will read it in a silly clown voice.
But still 5 stars. Thanks again, everybody, for listening, and until next time.
See ya!
See ya! See ya!
Flight 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.